All right, so here we go. Let's talk about HTML. So what we're going to be learning today, let me fire this up over here, and I'll share out my screen. There we go. All right, so we're talking about web development, and we're going to be using HTML. So web page development can be done on anything. And by anything, I mean any text editor, right? This is not Microsoft Word, because Microsoft Word has formatted text, right? You can bold and underline and draw things, right? That's not a plain text editor. A plain text editor is just text. So if you use Mac, TextEdit is one, although don't use TextEdit. I'll explain that in a little bit. And then on Windows, you've got Notepad, which does work very well. There's Notepad++, and there's Sublime Text, which we should all be familiar with, that we used with Python, right? So for some reason, the Mac version of TextEdit will recognize you're doing HTML, and it'll try inserting codes and doing things for you, and it can totally mess you up. They're trying to make it easier, but we're doing it from scratch, right? So, all right, that's first thing. Second thing is you don't need to be online to develop things. You don't need a web server. It can be run on your computer. All it is text formatting. But if you want server-side code, you will need that. So we're not doing any server-side code today. You will be doing some server-side code for Milestone 4 or for Lab 4. But even then, the code is basically provided for you. You're just going to be modifying it a little bit to meet your needs. And with the amount of code you've been exposed to, I think you'll be surprised at how many of you could actually look at it and say, oh, I know it needs to be fixed here for what I need. So that's sort of where we're at. So we're going to be learning HTML. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. How many people have heard of HTML? I'm assuming most of you have heard that term before, right? So we're going to be developing that. We're going to be doing it somewhat old school. There's a couple reasons for this. One, we're trying to learn, right? I mean, this is not, this part of the class is not like a trade school type thing where we're preparing you for a job to do a web programmer, right? This is to inform you how the stuff actually works, like what's actually going on, right? And so we're going to be doing straight HTML. A lot of web developers today will use Python or something to generate this code automatically, right? But we're going to put it in manually, because if you can't do it manually, if you don't know what it means, you can't do it automatically, right? So that's the first thing. A lot of people use advanced things like cascaded style sheets, CSS and stuff. We're not going to cover that. It's not a full class on web development, right? If you want to do CSS, awesome, like go for it. But I'm not going to require it. I'm just trying to get a basic, hey, I know how web pages work. I understand how to do page formatting. So that's the first thing. We're going to just do basic HTML. And then the second thing is I'm going to spend today teaching you the overall building blocks of how this works, right? So we're going to learn how to change colors and insert images and things like that. There are thousands and thousands of tags, which we'll talk about what they are, but they're basically codes you can use to do things on your web page. We can't cover them all. Like you could have a whole semester and you still would not cover them all. There are so many of them. So the best way to learn this is to understand enough of it so that if you want to learn how to do something, you can use Google to figure it out, right? So I've had students, for instance, come out of here and say, I want to put a YouTube video on my website, right? And they go and Google how to embed a YouTube video and they figure it out. They realize this isn't that hard. Now that I know the basics, I can go forward. So I do what I call a crawl, walk, run philosophy with this. So this class is going to be mostly crawl, right? We're going to step you through it. I'm going to show you how to do these basic things, right? Then we're going to do walk, and walk could be like, you know, your personal website type thing, right? You're going to take what you learned and then make it your own. You're going to format it, make it look nice, right? Show that you actually got it. And then I'll say the run stage will be the lab number 4, I think it is, which is lab number 3, which is the company website, the first part. You're going to be building an order form. And I'm not going to teach you the codes to do an order form. You're going to look it up and see if you can figure it out. Now, If you get stuck, you can always call, right? This isn't a programming course. I don't want you to get stressed or have problems, right? But I suspect every single one of you could figure it out if you actually tried. So I want you to try to see if you can do it, to show yourself, hey, I get this. I can look this up. So that's the run stage. And then we'll move on to server-side code, which, I don't expect anyone to really have to dive into. But I mean, if you're going to build a form, you're going to want to make it work, right? What's the fun of having a form that doesn't do anything? So, all right, any questions so far? Everyone good? You're a quiet bunch today. All right, so the last thing I wanted to cover real quick, by the way, I was asked to share with you, there is an MIS club meeting coming up. I think it's on Tuesday of next week. And they're bringing in some companies. It'll be available on Zoom, and they're going to have a showing. I think it's from noon to 1 in the Wolf Auditorium over here. Yeah.
Is it the careers in MIS?
Yeah, that's the one.
I think it might be on Monday, but I could be wrong.
Is it Monday? Yeah, I have on my thing here saying it's 3:12, but I know that's not correct. So I think someone mistyped something or something like that. So I was assuming it was 3:22. So I'll try to look it up and get the exact date again for you. It's not in my notes. But anyway, yeah, if you'd like to attend, this person here, this gentleman probably has the information. You can also send me the Jack, right? It's Jack. Yeah. Or you could just send me an email. I have the information as well, and I can send it out. So there we go. They're going to have, Amazon's going to be there doing a presentation, which is kind of cool, right? A company called, was it Deloitte? I don't know how to pronounce it. I think they're a tax firm or something, and they do some consulting. And then Treasury 4, which is another IS consulting firm that does, I think, audits and things like that. If I'm not mistaken. They write software for treasury analysis. So, all right, cool. Everyone good? All right, let's do our first web page. All right, so who needs a presentation like that? We're going to do it live. I'm going to hit the light up here so you can see the screen better. So everyone, go ahead and log in. You can. Oh, there's Austin. How about that? You can use your laptops if you want. This will work on Mac just as well as it'll work on PC. If you are on your personal PC, check to see if Sublime Text is on there, right? It should be on there from the Python thing, unless you weren't using your laptop or you got disgusted and removed it. So Sublime Text, I'll go ahead and open so you can see. I still have my Python program here. We'll create a new file, so it's fine. But yeah, there's your Sublime Text, right? All right, so everyone go ahead and open your Sublime. We'll get started. Give everyone a minute and I'll check in. If there's a newer version, it shouldn't matter. The older version should work fine. There's probably some small bug fixes or something in there, but if you don't have it, then yeah.
You need the password to download it.
So if you're putting it on the classroom computers, it should already be installed here. If it's not installed, here, I'll bring it up here and show you what to do. If you go search for Sublime Text, and then go to the site, right? You will see there's a download button. Don't click that one. It's bad. I mean, it's okay if it's your machine, but if it's these machines, you want to click the download button up here and then click on portable version right here. Does anyone know what a portable version is? You want to remember me talking about that? So a portable version of software is software that does not need to be installed. Like, you install programs on your computer, right? Portable versions, you just run directly. And the reason they're called portable versions is you can put them on a thumb drive and take them with you. They're portable. they don't need to be installed. So you just plug them in and run. So the portable version, you don't need to be an administrator to run on these machines. You just download it and then it's zipped. So you unzip and then run the program. Make sense? Hopefully that helps. So, all right, give everyone a minute to get cut out. How many people are in Sublime right now? 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's the majority. You all okay on that row there? Okay. How about our Zoomers? Are you okay on Sublime? Okay, we got a thumbs up, couple thumbs up. Excellent. All right, that's 3 out of 5. The other 2 are probably finding their thumbs up key, or they would speak out and say, I can't find it. I spend half my time looking for the thumbs up key or my raise hand key. And by the time I can raise my hand, the top is moved. It's weird when you're not the person usually on the other side trying to find stuff. All right, so here we go. We are going to create our first web page. Ready? We'll just put in the typical classic. This is my first program thing. Hello world, right? That's again, it's an MIS tradition. If you don't believe me, look it up. Everyone's first program is always hello world. So go ahead and type that in, and then we're going to save it. Now, there's a couple things to be aware when you save it, as we learned with Python, right? Make sure we know where we're saving it, and then we have to name it a certain thing. So I will step through that. So let's do your file, and then save as. And then we're going to give it a folder. So I'm going to go just to my downloads is fine, or go to my documents. And I'm going to create a folder for it. I'll call it HTML, but you can call it whatever you want. We're just trying to find a spot to put it, right? And it doesn't matter where you put it. You can put it on your desktop and your documents and your downloads, but I would create a folder so it's all together. And absolutely remember where the heck you saved it, right? Because if you don't, there's going to be a problem. Okay, everyone at this screen so far, you haven't hit save yet, right? But you're here. The next thing is down here on your file name, we're going to want to make it all lowercase, and we're going to call it index.html. Now, typically, any other page, every other page you create, you can name something else as long as it ends in a .html, which, yes, there are exceptions to people who've done web development, but crawl, walk, run, let's start simple, right? But the index is very important. So when you, and we're going to see this later when it comes to links, when you go to a web page, to a server, if you don't specify a file name, it won't send a file unless there's a file called index.html, and that's the default, right? So if you think of it like a book, this is the index. This is your main page, right? So if you want a page to load initially, you have to put that. Otherwise, it's going to not work. Hopefully that makes sense. Everyone's got that understood. So you do the index.html and you hit save. The location should appear here. Everything else should look fine. If you click file again and click open folder, it will open. Where's my index.html? What? It didn't work. You don't have it either? What's going on here? Oh, that's going to open the whole folder. All right. I thought that was a cool shortcut to get there, but it's not. So what we're going to do is just navigate to that folder like you normally would, right? So bring up your Finder or whatever it is. There's no shortcut, which is kind of dumb, but go to your documents or wherever you saved it, and then you should see the file. Boo on the shortcut. That's sad. Yeah.
How did you get the HTML? Because like I have this PC, and then I have, well, I'm on.
So where did you save the
I need
file?
help with the HTML.
See, this is what happens. Okay, so it's under your tabs. So go read that.
Can I edit that?
Yeah, just hit F2 or right click on your name. And then just put it on. Or actually, you're gonna want to just do the same. That's why I'm do this, but they won't be the same. So just do another. Right there, yeah. All right, how many people got to here and have the thing there? All right, that's definitely a majority. All right, for those people there, just double click the file and look at that. You have a web page that says hello world. See how many people have done web pages before? Done a web page before? Anyone? Cool. So this is all new. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, so when I went here and said click file, open folder, it doesn't work. So don't do it, just close that, don't do it that way. Just go down here or to your Finder and just navigate to wherever you saved it. Yeah, I thought that open folder was a cool shortcut, but it wasn't.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
Do we open it?
what's
The
that?
index now?
Yeah, so now if you double click it, it should open in your browser and away you go. Did anyone have an issue with it before we, okay, fix any issues that are out there and then we'll move forward. Yeah. And then they opened up a couple domain names. All right, everyone good? Show of hands. How many people are there? We got it working? Like 3 people? Oh, that's horrible. It's got to be more than 3 or I'd have tomatoes coming at me. There we go. All right, how about Zoomers out there? Oh, that's a banana, not a tomato. You don't heckle people with bananas. Unless they're rotten bananas, then it would work. You could throw it in a bad speaker. Is it a rotten banana?
It's relatively right.
Yeah, see, that just, it wouldn't stink and it wouldn't, smear on your face. Very ineffective tool for shaming people. Yes.
It's such a Microsoft Edge.
Yeah, okay, so she had the same problem when Edge comes up, it's gonna nag you with a bunch of things. But you should see at the top left, it did load your page. So just go through and click through those dumb nag things, and then it should be fine. I don't think it will nag you again. I think it's just the first time you're opening it. And since nobody uses Edge and everyone uses Chrome and Firefox, I don't think it's gonna open. All right, Zoomers, are we doing all right? Everyone up to where we're at here? No one? Oh, there we go. We're finding the button. Okay. So there we go. How cool is that, right? That was super easy. We have a web page, right? That's awesome. So from here on out, it's just learning how to make it look a little better, right? Because this is a pretty boring web page. So there's a couple rules that you need to understand about HTML as you work with it. So you can modify this, right? You can see everything here is going to appear over here, right? So I could do something like hello to the world. And then, okay, by the way, this doesn't work on the Mac. I don't know where it is on the Mac, but on the PC, if you type, you see this little star? I don't know if you can see it back there. This star means it's unsaved. So if I go file save, it's saved, right? So you can always tell if it's saved by whether there's a star. And one of the things I can do, which you'll see me do, this freaked out a student once, or a couple students, so I want to share what's going on. When you hit up here, right, there's a Control S as save. So if you watch the star, I'm hitting Control S, I'm saving it, right? So I am saving my document. It's not magic. Like they were like, how are you saving it without saving it? And they didn't realize there was a keyboard shortcut, right? So make sure that when you modify it, you save it, because if you don't, it's not going to work. But if you do save and update it, it will update over there. Make sense? Okay, cool. All right, so we got the hello to the world, right? But there's a couple rules I was going to share with you. So the first rule is, just to show you the code here, by the way, you can actually view the source code. Right click, view page source. This is line 1. I mean, it's kind of the same, right? You can come over here and hit all the enters you want, right? Save it and reload, and it doesn't change a thing. But if we view the source code, you'll see this is what we sent to the browser. The browser's ignoring all those enters, right? So that's the first thing to note. When I hit enter on my web page, it gets ignored, right? There's a reason for this, which we'll talk about. And you'll go, oh, that's why they did it that way. The other thing is, if you do more than one space, right? So you can say I put a whole bunch of spaces after hello there or hello too, right? Again, just like the enter, it gets ignored. But if we actually view the raw data that was sent, right, we can see they sent all those spaces, the browser just ignored them. So spaces and enters get totally ignored, right? And you're probably like, why? Trust me, they actually had a really good reason for that. Normally, when they do design things, I'll get mad at them if I think it's stupid, but this time I don't. All right, so how do we do a carriage return? How do we do an enter, right? Say we want hello and then to the world to be on 2 different lines, right? What we do is, other than that, all text is displayed just as written, except text that is included inside the little Pac-Mans, right? The greater than, less than symbols. When you put text inside those, it's what's referred to as a tag. And these are just codes that you give it on how to format text. So to give you an example, we'll put that, see, it even said it's a tag. Look at that, right? BR tag. Well, tell me what it is and I can now. All right, so the BR tag is line break, right? So that's an enter key. So if you look at it now, hello to the world, right? There's a return and extra space is ignored because there's a couple spaces there and it's just gonna ignore it. I wonder if I do this. Yeah, so it's just gonna ignore leading spaces. That work for everyone? You get your tag to work? So the rest of this class is really going to be spent going over some common tags and how they work, right? But now that you know what a tag is and you see how easy it is, you can look up HTML and then whatever it is you want to learn how to do, and it'll show you the tag and tell you how to use it. And there's a website, W3 Schools. It's really, really good. I'd still use Google because Google searches better than they do their own site. But you'll find some really good tutorials on how to do stuff there. All right, so we have our tags. I'll show you a couple more tags. Here's an interesting one, the B tag. Now the B tag stands for bold. And one of the interesting things about this tag, the break tag, we notice the line break is all by itself, but most tags, or a large number of tags, have a start and an end. And you can tell it's an end because it has the slash. So it goes from B to /B. And that means that tag affects everything in between, right? So in this case, we're just going to bold the word the, right? So it starts bold and then ends bold. So if we save it and load, you'll see the word the is bold. Everyone get that? I'm not seeing any blank stares really, so I'm guessing you're good. Cool. All right, so now we see how easy this is, right? This is the bold tag. We'll take a wild guess, see if someone can, who's never coded before. We're going to ask, see if you can guess. What do you think the tag is to italicize? Yeah. Congratulations. You get free imaginary classroom points and an extra warm fuzzy feeling on the side. So yes, if you change to an I, you will see that it is italicized. And you can nest these things, which means putting them inside one another. So I could do something like this, where I do bold and end bold, right? So it's going to bold all of this, but it's only going to italicize the word the. You look, that's what it does. Start and end. Generally speaking, I recommend putting your end tag in the minute you put your start tag, so you don't forget to close it, because you could have a run-on bold all the way down your document and be like, what happened here, right? I'm very forgetful, so that's just a thing I do to keep myself organized. Everyone got that figured out? All right, so one thing you're going to find out about browsers here is they have a vested interest in making things work well, right? They want to display things well. And so they will take incorrect things and try to figure out what you mean and then go with it, right? So this document here is technically not HTML compliant. We're going to do some things really quick to make it that way. It will have zero effect on what the page looks like, but it'll just be more correct. So we're going to do that really quick. So the first thing you should do is your first line should have HTML, and your last line should have end HTML. Next thing is your second line. We're going to put a header in, and we're going to end the header. And then we'll put a body in and end the body. And give everyone a chance to catch up to that. So just to show you, because I like sharing nerd humor when people start to get it, right? Obviously, this is the header and this is the body, right? And this is part of the body of the document, right? So we put it around that. And here's a really great t-shirt for someone who does HTML, right? The end of the head, start of the body, and end of the body, right? One of these years, maybe I should offer extra credit for someone to wear something like that to class. I don't know. Then you'd probably all buy it, and then I'd feel bad. Or it'd be awesome, right? If we all wore those. Okay. All right, so we got our head and our body, right? Now you'll notice if we had something like this, don't do this. I'm just going to show you. How many people find that more difficult to read than the way I had it? Right, most people are raising their hands, right? Whereas when I did it like this, much easier to read, right? So putting enters after all of them helps, right? But if I put enter, but if HTML was designed to print every enter you put in, it would mess with your document. You see what's, so that's why they ignore enters, right? Because without enters, when you ignore, if you printed them, you couldn't organize your code as a coder. All right, so here we go, HTML head, right? Now there's some tags that only work in some parts of your document. So the title tag, which we'll talk about next, only works in the header. So we're going to put that in here. We're going to do title and then end title, and I'll do something like my cool website. And you'll notice your web page over here has the name of the file, right? Index.html. Once you put a title in, it updates the tab, right? So if you have all these tabs over, I'm old enough to remember when there weren't tabs on the website. We had one tab in the browser. Now everyone has like 50 tabs open, right? But it was a cool feature that came out. So yeah, so it puts the title right there in your web page. So just to show you how this works and how applicable this is, right? If you go to Gonzaga University, right? Here's the website. You'll notice it doesn't have index.html. It has Gonzaga University, Spokane, Washington as the title, right? Let's view the source code. Let's view what they sent the browser. So we'll go down to view page source. And if you look, here's HTML, here's the header, and here's the title, Gonzaga University, Spokane, Washington. So what you are seeing is the guts, the bare, now I'm scrolling all over the place. This is the bare bone guts of how the web actually works. Like this is what's being sent to your browser. And all we're doing is coding it at a low level. Once you understand how to do this, then writing software to generate this for you is a lot easier. If you don't know how to do this, it's really difficult to do that. So it's a good thing to kind of just understand the basics. All right, there we go. Okay, so we've got the title taken care of. Everyone's still together, right? Okay, another thing about tags that's pretty cool is they can have properties. So we have the body tag, right? Maybe you want to give some information about the body, and one thing we can set is the background color. So you do body BG color equals, and then just pick a color. My favorite color is red, so I will pick red, and you'll see it change the background color to red. How cool is that?
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, isn't this more fun than writing a term paper? Come on. Anyone who says no is a stick in the mud. Yeah, no, this is kind of fun stuff. All right, so everyone got their favorite color up there, right? Now, someone yesterday tried brown. I'll try it again. It didn't work for them, right? I mean, I don't know. Does that look like brown to you? Who thinks that looks like brown? Because that does not look like brown to me. Right? Yeah, I'm not buying this, right? So maybe it's something broken. I don't know. But the point is, your computer has 16 million colors, right? That's how many colors your monitor can produce. And to just eliminate this to red, green, purple, orange, right? That's really limiting yourself, right? And I don't know that they have things like, fuchsia or, forest green, right? There's a certain point where you're like, I want a specific color, right? Maybe I want brown and it's cheating me out of my brown. How do I do that? So I will show you, but to show you, I'm going to take a step back and explain how something works, because everyone knows I like to do that. I like to show you the why, because my professors never told me the why, and I'm getting even by being that guy. So here's the why. So think back to our very first class, right? Asking it out there, what are the only two things a computer knows?
Ones and zeros.
Ones and zeros, more fuzzy feelings. Yes, ones and zeros are all your computer knows. So then if you stop and think about it, how does a computer store color, which is ones and zeros? Does anyone think like, yeah, wait a minute, how does it do that, right? So I will explain. So let me bring up this here. So if you remember way back when we were all kindergartners, right? We learned about the primary colors. Does everyone remember what the primary colors are? Not technically, but we'll get to that. What are they?
Red, yellow, and blue.
Red, yellow, and blue. Are you a painter?
No, no. Not.
Did you look it up?
No, I
No, you
didn't.
just remember.
I don't know.
That's really impressive, because
Learned it at some point.
up until I was teaching this every semester in the beginning, I had to actually look it up because I don't remember what the primary colors are. I do remember the RGB thing, but I don't remember. I'm not a painter, right? So yes, it is red. Now I'm forgetting red, blue, and yellow, right?
Yes.
See, now you're all throwing me off. All right, is that a blue? I don't know. This is kind of bluish. So red, blue, and yellow, right? And if you remember when you were a kid, right? If you mix them together, you can get different colors. Everyone's watched Bob Ross do that, right? He mixes the colors, right? So yeah, so if you mix, for instance, blue and yellow, what do you get? Does anyone remember? Green, right? What about red and blue? Purple, right? You can mix colors together. And the way this works is because you have an object over here. We'll say that we have like an orange ball over here, right? And then you have a light source over here. Maybe it's the sun or something, right? And then it's shining light out, right? And the light hits the ball. The ball absorbs all the light, but reflects the orange light, which hits our eyeball. And our eyeball says, oh, that thing is orange, right? Everyone kind of remember this, right? If I'm getting the physics right, I'm not a physics person, but there we go. So that's all well and good, right? But if you think about it, okay, if the primary, okay, so when you mix these colors together, right? Where's my mouse here? It's gone. You mix these colors together, What happens if you mix all of them together all at once? What color does it make? Black, right? So an item that is black absorbs all the light, right? Which is why black things tend to get hotter in the summer, right? We don't wear dark clothing because it absorbs all the heat. It absorbs all the light, right? So if you think about it, you got to be thinking, okay, wait a minute. So if black has all the colors, right? How come the sunlight doesn't look black? Like, how come I don't see black everywhere, right? If black is all the colors. And that's because the colors of light are sort of the opposite of reflected colors. So the colors of light are, go ahead, say it again. RGB, red, green, and blue. There we go. And everyone's heard of RGB, right? That's kind of a thing everyone's heard of, right? That's what it stands for. If you didn't know, RGB, red, green, and blue, right? So those are the colors of light. And when those colors hit a prism, right? The prism splits them off into their different colors of the rainbow, right? Because all colors are in light, right? So there we go. So the colors of light are RGB, and this is just, it's kind of the opposite of what we think of when we think of the primary colors. So yeah, primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, except when you're dealing with light. And your monitor is a light generator. It's not a light reflector, right? So if we're going to generate color, we have to use red, green, and blue. And so in your monitor, that's what we have. We have RGB, and that's where those RGB light strips have, right? So how do they do it? Well, what they do essentially is you have these little pixels on your screen, right, that are close together, and they will set values for how much red, how much green, and how much blue to put in there. So if they put all the red and no green and blue, it appears red. If they put all the red and all the blue, but no green, it shows up as purple, right? And if they put all of them in, it shows up as white because all the colors create white. Everyone following so far, hopefully? And you're probably going, why does this matter? Well, we're talking about how color is stored, right? So this is how color is stored, red, green, and blue, and they're all values of intensity. And I will tell you, my mouse again, trying to find it, the values range from 0 to 255 each. So is that, how many people think this 255 is a weird random number? There was, you do? It's not random, but yes. No, good. So, all right, so for those people who said it's not a random number, now you have to stick your neck out. Why? What's so special about 255? Yeah. It's the maximum amount of number that can be stored in a byte. And what's a byte? Can anyone else tell me what a byte is? All right, go ahead. Say 8 bits. So remember, a bit is a 1 or a 0. Does everyone remember this? Going back to the beginning, right? So a 1 or a 0. And if we have 8 of them, that is a byte, right? And that is a number between 0 and 255. So if you ever see 255 on a computer from now on, right, you'll know, oh, that's an important number. They've given a byte to store that data. It was interesting, and there was an article I saw a couple years ago. I don't remember what it was, but they were talking about how Twitter has increased from they went from 16 characters to 255 characters, or something like that. Might not even been Twitter, but I think it was. And then the reporter put in the tagline, no one is sure why such an odd number. And I'm like, did you even try to research it? Like any computer scientist would have told you. And now any of you could tell them, right? That's because they allocated a byte. All right, so we know each number is 255. So let me clear this out. You've got 0 through 255 per color, right? That's one byte or 8 bits, right? So this would be fully on, and then all zeros would be that's fully off, right? How many bytes do you think it would take to hold red, green, and blue? I saw a hand. You could do it.
No,
Take a guess then. Now you got me all excited.
what was the
thinking,
question?
oh, I'm failing. If it takes 8 bytes to store just the red color information. How much does it take to store red, green, and blue? 24 bits, actually, yes, yeah, very good. So you can see in Paint, actually, when you save, there's actually a 24-bit bitmap. And that's exactly what it's storing. That's what it means, right? It's storing 8 bits. If you have other bitmaps that are less, then it shrinks the amount of data that you have. So you could do 0 to 16 for color, but then you have less in between colors, right? So the more bits you have, the more exact you get on your colors. So if I had a color like this, 255, comma 0, comma 255, and this is RGB, what color do you think that would be? Purple, right? Does everyone see purple, right? Awesome. So, and if I did something like this, 0, comma 255, comma 0, what color would that be? Green. See, you're all learning colors. This is how it's stored. Now you're going to see why this matters in HTML. Has anyone done any like Photoshop work or anything like that? A couple people. So you'll see this in Photoshop. Also, what I'm going to show you next. But this is what it's based on. So here we have, over here we have binary, which is base 2, right? Which means there's 2 digits, 0 and 1. And over here we have base 10, which means there's 10 digits, 0 through 9, right? Everyone remembers this? When we store color information in a computer, we actually use what's called hexadecimal, which is base 16. So you go 0 through 9, but then we need a little more. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So if I put F, that would be 15. It's like if someone gets an F on an exam, you can say that's the highest score in hexadecimal. You can feel better, right? Whereas A is like, that's like not near as good. So yeah, so it's stored in hexadecimal, which means if you had a value of FF, that's 255. Now, do I expect anyone to do hexadecimal math? No. Hopefully we've all figured out how to find converters and stuff like that, but you won't even have to do that. But you will see numbers like this. So can anyone tell me what color would that be? Take a guess. No, close though. What? It is red. So look here, red, green, blue. So you have full red, no green, and no blue. So everyone see how that works? So you split it up like that. So if I have a color that's like 0, 0, 0, 0, FF, what color would that be? Blue, right? Everyone sees that now. If I had a color like this, ready? 0B3ACD. Anyone know what color that is? Yeah, like I don't know, right? But the point is, we know if that's the color, that's going to be awesome. We all know if we see a number sign followed by a number like that, that it's a color, right? So now let's get back over to what we were originally talking about before I went on my little rant. If you go to Google, so go ahead and pop on over there. This doesn't work in Opera. I don't know why. It works in all the other browsers so far as I can tell. If you search in Google for HTML color picker, it will just load a color picker. And you can slide around here, find the exact color you want, right? And it shows you the color over here. But the cool thing is down here is that hex code. It shows you how much red, how much green, how much blue, and then it shows you the hex code. So you don't have to like, figure out what the hex code is through some difficult process. But I went through all that to show you what that means, right? Because if you're just copying strange numbers, it's just sort of this opaque thing that you can't see through. You don't know what it means, and then that's pointless for learning, right? You want to understand why, what's going on there. So that's what that means. So if you like a color, find a color you like in there. A good purple or blue or whatever it is you like. I'm gonna try to find that brown that I feel like we were cheated on. I don't know. Does that look kind of brownish? I'm really bad at art stuff. If I was good at art stuff, I wouldn't be an engineer, right? Do a girly, you said a girly blue?
Early.
A burly one. All right, that looks kind of brownish. So if you select it and then paste it in here with the number sign. It will use that color. So if there's a specific color you want, like when you're designing your personal page about yourself, you can put your favorite color in the background. It's really easy to just look up a color picker, right? Find the color you want, just paste it in your color. But now you know what this means here, right? It's not just a bunch of silly numbers. And when you go to use Photoshop and you see those numbers, you'll note that's what's going on. It's storing the value of the color. All right. How's everyone doing out there? You following okay? Awesome. Good to hear. All right. So let's talk about font size. Who wants to know how to change your font size? Anyone? Yeah, so that makes it a little better, right? So the font size, what do you think the name of the tag is? Someone guess. Font. You sure you haven't programmed this before? Font, absolutely. We'll do font. And I'm going to end it over here. You can end it wherever you want. I'm just going to show you. And then within your font tag, you put your property like we did with the BG color. This time it's size, and it's a number between 1 and 7. There's other attributes you can set. You can do point and things like that, but just for simple sake, just do 1 through 7. And you'll see it will change the font size of that thing. And you could, I'll do world in even smaller font, right? I can do font size equals 2, or 1 even. And you'll see it makes a world even smaller, right? Everyone got font size? Give you all a minute to catch up. How are my Zoomers doing out there? Did you all fall asleep from my color lecture? Sounds like it. Wow, that's brutal. They did fall asleep. All right, well, you're all awake, so here we go. All right, so everyone good? We all got font size working. You can also do colors with font. Color equals, and you could do like, you know, whatever color you want. Right? You could do the number thing if you want as well. And it'll change your color. So now you can start thinking, oh, I can do some cool stuff, right? This is way better. All right, so we're going to take a break on adding new tags, and I'm going to show you one additional thing. So we noticed if we hit enter, it kind of made the code easier to read, right? It kind of split it up. There's another technique as well involved using the tab key. And the idea with that is any tag that is nested under another tag, you would tab in. So for example, the head is under HTML, so we tab that in. And you can do it by selecting it and then just hitting tab, right? As long as they're selected. And body is under that, right? And then the title is under head, so maybe we tab that in, right? And then this font size oops, that's not what I wanted. Font gets tabbed in, this font gets tabbed in, that gets tabbed in. So you can start seeing what goes between what, right? How many people think that looks easier to read? Anyone? Maybe a 50-50 on it, right? As you get more into tables and things, you'll start going, oh yeah. So some things you may want to do something like this, right? And that's probably even more readable, right? So, but the point is, because of that second rule that I talked to you about, which is you can add as many spaces you want and it gets ignored. it allows you to kind of space things out so that it makes sense to you as the coder, right? So if you like it tabbed in, you can do that. If you don't, you don't have to. Maybe you want to do like stuff like this where it's tabbed, but you've got them put together on occasion, right? It's all up to you. You can do something like this, right, where you split that font out and then this font out, right? However it is, that's your style, and everyone has their own style. And this is what I talked about, different coding styles, right? And you really, if you get involved and you're working with a team, you can start knowing who wrote what just by looking at it, because you know kind of like the way they speak. This is the way they write. All right, so that's why no spaces. That's why spaces are ignored. All right, well, we've done a whole lot of stuff, but we haven't done images yet. Who wants to put an image in this thing, right? Pictures, yeah, I'm seeing some raised hands. Let's put a picture in. All right, during the last class, I usually try to search for the craziest thing I can think of at the time. I actually tried searching for a cow throwing a hand grenade and I got nothing, to which I was very disappointed. So now I'm feeling like Google's letting me down, but I'll see if I can come up with something. How about a unicorn riding a skateboard? That's actually probably pretty easy to find. It's got to be there. Yeah, see, that was pretty easy. I feel like I didn't push Google this time, but I'm like, I also feel like they let me down so hard that, all right, you can search for whatever you want, right? The point is find an image that you're going to want to put on your page, right? All right, so I'm going to open a new tab here. All right, so most people know you can right click and save image as. The difficulty is, number one, this says it's a JPEG, but it may not be a JPEG, which doesn't make sense, but it happens. Also, sometimes you get a WebP or you get some weird formats, right? So I would recommend if you get it on the screen, just use the snipping tool. Who is not aware of the snipping tool? And there's got to be a Mac equivalent. What's the Mac equivalent? Does anyone know?
Just like
Command something, Command C, to do a screenshot or to grab a section of the screen.
oh, it's like Shift Command 4.
Shift Command 4. That's real easy to remember. Shift Command 4. Escape minus comma. Okay, so Shift Command 4. Grab the thing there, right? And then once you have it selected, we're going to save it. Oh, so to get, see, I thought everyone knew. Okay, so you just click start and type snip and click it, and that'll come up. That's a Windows thing, yeah. So it was Command Shift 4 on the Mac. Yeah.
Did you open a new tab for that, just that photo?
Yeah. So what I did is I just right clicked and said open image in new tab, because I don't want to get these things on my picture, right? So it kind of clears it out.
And then you snap it.
Then you click new and you snip it and it'll go right in the snipping tool. Once it's in your whatever tool you have, you want to save it. But there's a couple of things to note when you save it. First, make sure you save it in the folder that your index.html is in, right? If you don't save it there, it won't be able to find it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I would try to make it all lowercase. This is going to make that difficult. On Windows, I think you could do quotes around it. On the Mac, that'll mess it up. So try to keep it lowercase. You can always go in here. If you're on the PC, if you go to View, File Extensions, it'll show you the full file name, and that'll help you to see if it's lowercase. But you're going to want to know that full file name, right? It's whatever.png, whatever.jpg, whatever it is. So I'll give everyone a minute to find a picture and put it there. Are my Zoomers awake? Did you guys all wake up yet? All right, good. Was it a good nap? I am recording the session, so if you have some sleeping difficulties later, you can put my color lecture back on. I do try to help people out. All right, how many people got a picture saved? What do you save it as? Yeah, whatever, or you can give it whatever name you want.
Yeah, but under what?
Just save it in the same folder that your index.html is. No, don't save it as .html. It's a JPEG or a PNG. It just needs to be in the folder. The only things that should be .html are your HTML files. Right? No, it's a good question. I'd rather you ask the question. Right? Start. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, how many people got a picture? Do we have a good solid majority? No? Yes? Show of hands, how many people got a picture? Because I don't want to go ahead until, okay. All right, cool. All right, so now let's insert that picture into our document. To insert an image, you use the IMG tag. Maybe they were lazy that day, they didn't want to be image, they just did IMG. And then the property is src, and then your file name. So in my case, it is unicorn.png. And that's it. And then when you do that, it should put it in there. And I will discuss how to resize it momentarily, because yes, you can do that, but let's see if we can get in. We got an image, I can tell. Isn't that exciting? Feels good. Zoomers, you all have images in your files? Cool. And so now you know how images are stored, right? It's all RGB values all the way across, all the way down. Wherever in your document you place this is where it's going to be. So in my document, I have hello to the world and then the unicorn. But if I move it above hello to the world, it will actually move it to that location. So now it's above it. So you can place the image specifically where you want in your document by doing it.
No, you don't need it.
All right, how many people got an image? Show of hands. Oh, yeah, isn't that great? See, this is exciting stuff. Tons of fun. You missed this. I can tell you missed this over spring break. All right. So now let's talk about sizing, because this is kind of big. So after your image, you can also in there add additional properties of width and height. And these are technically in pixels. So that'd be 50 pixels by 50 pixels. So that makes it smaller. I don't really know if that matters much anymore, because you can like resize it. So what's a pixel really anymore? I'm not sure. But at 100%, it would be 50 by 50. So there you go. So you can move things wherever you want in the documents. I can put it after the word hello, right? Stick it over here. After hello, but before the line break where it says BR, right? And you'll see it's after hello, but before the line break. So if you look at the code and can see what's going on, right, you can put things wherever you want and make it your own. So for the personal website, one of the things that you'll have to do is have at least one picture, which you all know how to do, right? But another thing you're gonna have to do is have 3 separate pages that all link to each other, right? And they can each have their own topic. Maybe one is my favorite movies, and the other is my favorite foods, right? We all like food, so that's a good one. Whatever it is, right? 3 separate pages that all link to each other, but in order to do that, you have to know how to link, right? So let's talk about how to link, because without clickable links, like HTML is kind of dumb, right? Loses the whole point. So what we're gonna do is create a link tag. Now, in order to link to another page, what do you think the tag name would be? Like, you would think so, wouldn't you? But there's a few times I think the engineers were just grumpy and tried to make something complicated just to laugh at us years later, as it's stuck in the standard for years, right? So the tag to link to something, I'm not joking, is A, right? No idea why. It stands for anchor. I'm sure they actually had a good reason, but I'd rather get a pitchfork out. So A and then href equals and then /A. So that's the basic format of a link. href stands for hyperlink reference, right? We can't just say link page equals. That would be too easy, right? Href equals. So what does this mean? This here is the name of your page. So you could do like page2.html. And this here is what you click to get into it. It could be click me or whatever you want it to say. You could even put an image in there. I could put my picture of my unicorn in there and it would make it clickable. Whatever is between here and here becomes clickable. So see when I run it, right? There's a click me button. It is before hello, so that's why it's appearing there. And when I click it, it says file not found. Can anyone tell me why it's saying file not found? Yeah.
Is that because it's a different web page?
Yeah, there's no file there, right? Yeah, we haven't created it. So let's create it, right? So we called it page2.html. Whatever you called it is whatever you called it, right? So we're going to go here, do file new. And we'll do something like, this is page number 2. And now that we have it, we do a file, save as, and we want to make sure we call it whatever we referred to it as, page2.html. And if we do that, it exists now. Now it will display. It actually has a page code, right? Yeah. Yeah. I just did file, new file. How's everyone doing? Do we get it? How many people got a link to work? Show of hands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a lot of people. Okay, so now we have a page, right? You click the link and it goes to page 2. So I talked about crawl, walk, run, right? And in between crawling and walking, you usually have this cruising stage, right? Where they put their arms up on the couch and then they try to walk sideways holding on to something. So we're gonna try to do some cruising here on this. We're gonna stop for 5 minutes and I'm gonna see if you can figure out how to put a link on page 2 that goes back to the original. Yeah.
I'm having trouble just still getting it.
Oh, let me take a look. Okay, so go to view. Have you saved it? Oh,
I've saved it.
I mean, assuming you have, but just to make sure. Yeah, I know. Okay, cool. Yeah. HTML. You got 2 different files. You got desktop, and actually you got HTML.
Oh, so it's not the wrong one. 'Cause
Yeah,
when I
so-
go back to here,
Yeah,
I
so
have this in there.
right, this is the one you have in here, but you have another one in there. So you've got 2 HTML files. Make sense?
Yeah, so how do I make it so it's just one photo?
Yeah, delete one. Just pick one to keep.
Okay, I'll do it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Okay, so go to the next page. Okay, so that needs to be in the same folder. That's the HTML, yeah. So that's the first thing, and then I also noticed you have a space. Oh, is there? Oh, okay.
pretty sure.
It'll probably. Might not be.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to read that.
Yeah, that's like 99%.
And then you have this name.
So mine,
And then in between
I turned
these
it
two,
on.
you
There's this
and
one.
then that's the open. Yeah, and then create a new go file, new file. Type in hello. And then new file, save as. And then title it the same as what we have.
Oh, my gosh. Can you go to the folder?
No, this.
Well, maybe it's not in the same.
And then oh. It might have to be in the same.
I think it should. iCloud.
Yeah,
I know, that always messes it up.
yeah, but this is.
This is something that, yes, there's no iCloud.
Oh, my Lanta.
I just thought we saw it.
I like three.
Just don't know. That's it, man. The other thing you could do is try to find it. Sometimes on the map, that's why I was, could you do a screenshot or? Because if you don't do a screenshot, it's not. Yeah.
So, it's your turn.
Yes, that's desktop. All right, let me continue on.
It's okay.
And then I'll come on.
Yeah, no.
There's a bunch of people. So. All right, so some people are having image issues and stuff, so I'm gonna finish this up. So that the people who are there can get through and start working on their stuff, and then I'll go around and spend the rest of the class helping people. I'm sure the last 5 minutes is gonna be very exciting to people who watch this recording. All right, so the last thing, we got images. How many people got the links to work back and forth? Awesome, awesome. So we're getting close, right? Now, one more thing about links, and then we're going to talk about tables, and then you all know enough. You no longer need me. You can fly away. So the first thing is the links, right? So this will link to another page, but we also may want to link to another site, right? Maybe we want to link to Google or YouTube. Maybe there's a funny video. Every semester, someone tries to rickroll me. Whatever it is, right, that you're going to put on the link. One of the requirements is to have at least one link as well going to an external source. So how do you do that, right? Well, to do that, we need to talk about absolute and relative links. Sounds maybe complicated, but it's not. So think of it like directions, right? You can have absolute or relative directions. Absolute directions will get you to your source without having to know the start location. But relative directions require you to know the start location in order to follow them. So for example, if one of you says, how do I get to the printers, right, in the lab? And I say, stand up, turn around, walk 20 feet, right? That makes a lot of sense, right, in here. But if you take those directions and then go outside, in front of, College Hall, and then turn around and walk 20 feet, you're not going to find the printers, right? So it absolutely requires that you be in a certain location to start. Does that make sense to everybody, hopefully? Yes, see nodding, okay. Absolute directions, oh, we have a person showing up in the waiting room. Absolute directions don't require that. So if I give you a specific street address, 502 East Boone, Spokane, Washington, 99258, right? You could find that regardless of where you are. Where you start has no bearing on how to get there, right? If I give you a longitude or latitude, right? That's an absolute direction. You don't need to know the starting location, know how to get there. This right here is a relative link. And the reason that it's relative is it's assuming page 2 is in the same folder with it, right? which we all figured out, it has to be in the same folder, right? Some people tried a different folder, didn't work, it has to be together. If we go to an external environment, right, it's not going to be in the same folder. So a link, it looks the same. All links have the same, they all start with the href equals, right? And then the link goes in here. And then you have whatever you're gonna click thing right here, right? All of them look the same. The difference is in this quote, how do you refer to it? And URLs, when you type them in your browser or when they're in there, have 3 sections. The first section is the protocol. The second section is the server, and the last section is the page. Now, this sounds very complicated, but you do it all the time and don't even think about it. So what's the protocol for a website? HTTP://. How many people have seen that before? Right? You may have seen this, right? HTTPS, right? They're 2 different protocols, but you always start with the protocol. The next thing you do is the server, www.google.com, which, as we know, just gets changed to an IP address, right? And it looks it up. And the last thing is the page, which could be something like page2.html. You've noticed, however, you almost never put that in there, right? You just leave that off. And if that's left off, it assumes index.html, which is why it's important to have an index.html, because if you don't have it and you do that, it's going to say, I don't have an index.html. I don't know what you're talking about. Making sense? Hopefully everyone's on board and with the program. Okay, so to link to Google, we would just http www.google.com. It's an absolute reference. We're specifying the server. If you wanted to, you could do an absolute reference to a link on your site. You could say http mypage.crabdance.com or whatever your page is, right? /page2. Right? You've got the protocol, your server name, and then your page name. It's CrabDance, right? But you don't have to use that full thing if it's in the same page. You can just use a relative because it's right there. This, that's looks weird. All right, so there we go. Quick thing brings you to Google. Make sense? Everyone on board? Everyone get it working, right? With the link. All right, so we're going to move on to the last topic, which is tables. And I had someone in the last class say, this is really cool, but how do I organize it, right? It's kind of all slapped together on the page. They asked how to center it. So first of all, can anyone tell me what you think the tag would be to center something? Center, right? And if you don't know, this is where Google is so cool. You can do HTML center. There's W3 Schools down there. I always look for the W3 Schools link because they're just so easy to understand. Center tag. The center tag was used to align text. So here we go. Now they're saying you can do a style with text align as center. So they're doing it via styles, which is fine. You could do that as well. So what they're saying here, and see, I'm not covering CSS, but what they're saying here is you create styles and you say, anytime you see style H1, align text in the center, and then they just use H1. So it's kind of like you can add additional formatting to tags and sometimes even make your own tags that way. But the center tag, there we go. So you can find it, and it even probably would have said right up here, you know, center, there's a picture right there. So Google is your friend, right? You can find all this stuff in there. And once you start getting into CSS, like it'll all start making way more sense. All right, so let's talk about tables, because tables is how we really align everything, right? So what is a table? How many people have used tables in Word? Anyone? No one? No, a couple people? Okay, yeah. You probably had to do a table on a report or something, right? With the rows and columns. So it's the same thing in HTML. They work the same way. It's just rows and columns, right? how do we use them and why do we use them? Well, one really good reason to use them is to organize your page. You might have, and a lot of people will, do a table that covers up like the main center of their page. They might put another table inside it that looks like this. That's one row with multiple columns, and they'll put something like home, about us, order here, you know, our mission or whatever it is right across the top. Or they might do something like this where they have a table like this. And they have some links over here. And then when you click on one of them, it loads something different over here, right? We've all seen these formats. That's how it's done. It's all done through tables. So how do we do a table? So you think about it, we have to talk about what a table is, but we can't do it through pictures. We have to do it through codes, right? So the way this works is a web page. Remember, our web pages, we'll just draw a little typical table here, 2 rows, 2 columns, right? Web pages load from the top down, right? We're used to reading from left to right, but most pages go from top down, right? You scroll down. So that's the way your table is going to be built. It's going to be built top down. So you're going to build it 1 row at a time. You're going to build that row and then that row, and then the other rows come down. So the first thing you know is I build my table, then I build my rows. Now, once you build each row, then you build the columns. So you're going to build row, add the columns, row, add the columns, row, add the columns. That's the order that you do it. So how does this work? So if I want to put a table in, what tag do I use, do you think? Table. We're all really creative in IT, you can tell, right? So again, I usually do the table and the slash table, so I don't forget. This is where those tabs are going to be really nice for you to organize it. All right, so the next thing I want is a table row. That's actually a TR tag. So TR, right? Now I want a table column. What do you think the thing is for a table column? Well, if table row is TR, what do you think the tag would be for a table column? You'd think it would be TC, right? But again, they were in a bad mood that day, I think. It's actually TD. Maybe they missed the C key. It's like 1 over, I don't know. No, it actually stands for table data. There's a TH for table header as well, if you'd like to use that. So TR, table data, and then whatever you want in that cell goes here. So let's see how this works. I will build one. We're going to build something that looks like this, right? Just a simple table. And then we're going to put like, you know, maybe name and then someone's name and then picture, and we can put our picture in there. So you can see, you can put photos in it or whatever you need. So I'll leave this here so you can see the lovely drawing of what we're trying to accomplish. So we come in here somewhere in the body, right? And we do our table tag. And then I end my table tag because I don't want to forget. And then I go into the middle. Now, one thing you're going to want to do is set your border to 1. This way you can actually see the border around the table, right? Makes it way easier to fix if there's a problem. When you're done, you can always set it to 0 to turn it off. But for now, we're going to leave it at 1 so we can see what we're doing. All right, so we have our table tags. Anyone remember what's the first thing we have to build on a table? TR, correct. The row, right? So there's our first row. And then in that row, how many columns do we have? 2. Everyone see 2 columns? Right? Column 1, column 2. So we're going to create 2 columns in our code. TD. Slash TD, TD, slash TD. There we go. We have 1 row and 2 columns inside a table. This is why I like using tab, because you can see what's under what, right? If you're not tabbing, that's fine. It's up to you, but you will probably thank yourself for tables for use points. All right, so now this is the first row, first column. Everything in here gets put in there, so we'll do name, and then you can put your name in there, right? We reload it, and there is my table. 1 row, 2 columns, and then that's in each of the each of the cells. Still hear people clicking away. Either they're still typing or they're chatting with a friend. Never know what. How many people got it in there? Anyone got a table? Fast typer, well done. Table, fast typers. Cool, you got it? All right, yeah,
What would go, would, oh wait, never mind, I see it.
got it? All right, so now I'm gonna add another column or another row, right? So I could type it out, but watch this. This is so cool. Just grab the whole row and I'll just paste it below. If I do that, right, it'll just do another thing that looks the same. But now I can modify it, right? So if you're doing like tables, you can use copy paste to more rapidly do it. And here I'm just gonna put picture. And I'm gonna spell it correctly. And then I'm gonna come up and grab that picture of that unicorn. And I'm gonna put it in my table. See, there you go. Everything's there. So now you can see how it all works. So generally speaking, right, we would put our whole page in a table, right? So that we can keep it all contained and organized. And you can specify on your table a width. So you could do width equals, usually these are done in percentages. So you could do something like width equals 80%. But you have to spell width correctly. That's why it's not working. So there you go. And the cool thing is if you do that, it'll keep it at 80%, right? If you resize it. You can't really do a height, like that, but you can do a width. So what you would do usually is you'd use a center tag to center the whole table. You'd set the width to like 80%, and then you can start centering and organizing the pieces of your web page within that table. And then when you're done, you can just turn off the border and no one knows it's there, keeping everything all lined up. There you go. Pretty cool. Everyone good? You feel like you can make a web page now?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. All right. So the lab workbook or the class workbook, let me see if I don't have it downloaded, then I'll just, if I have it downloaded, I can show you. But I'm going to download it anyway. Let me grab it real quick. Class workbook. Here we go. All right, so here's our class workbook, right? You'll see lab number 2, personal website, is right here. Those are the requirements. This project is turned in individually while you can collaborate with people around you. Each student must submit their own lab. So yeah, you can help each other out. That's a good way to learn. Especially the person doing the helping will probably learn a lot. You need at least 3 pages that all link to each other, at least 1 link to an external site, at least 1 picture, and at least 1 table. And then try to like make it visually appealing, right? Yeah, if you just put like on the page, if it's like page 2 and you just write, this is page 2, like that's not putting any thought into this, right? Like make it like something you can be proud of. Look, I did this, right? So make them link to each other, make it have some sort of cohesion so it makes sense. It's not just, words on pages, but it makes sense, right? And then you're going to want to upload it. The instructions to upload are right here. You'll need WinSCP for Windows. You can download it just from, I think it's probably, I would bet it's even in the Microsoft Store. Let me see. Let's see if it's in there. Maybe it's not. I think it is. WinSCP. WinSCP, what? They're charging you for? Don't download it from the store. They're trying to rip you off. Just go to Google and search for WinSCP. It's a free program right there. Download now. Once you download it, just follow through the steps and it'll get you there. Mac uses a program called FileZilla. Same thing, you'll go to search for FileZilla, filezillaproject.org, and then you'll download it. Both of them look similar to this. You'll just connect in, and on the left side will be your computer, the right side will be the server, and you can just drag and drop files back and forth to your server. So you're gonna take the HTML file you're building, and you're gonna upload it to your website, and then you're gonna go to Blackboard and just, again, enter the name of your website, and then I'll view it. If I view it and you don't get 100%, reach out to me. It doesn't mean that you're gonna get an F. It just means something's not working. If you reach out to me and fix it, you'll get full score, just like with the last thing. Sometimes people will put a table on the page or something on the page, like a link, and I just won't see it, right? I mean, I'm grading 80 of these and I miss stuff. So if I miss something, I'll point it out, I'll fix it, right? It's not that big of a deal. The only way you would ever get less than 100% on this is if you just don't do it, right? So there we go. Now, the last thing about that is make sure that you have the website pasted into Blackboard by the due date, right? If the whole thing is done by the due date, that's ideal, right? If there's something that's broken, we can go back and fix it. But if it's not posted, it creates this problem that we had with the last one, where people are emailing me the name of their website, and then I forget and I can't see it, right? If it's all in Blackboard, it's so much easier to keep track of. So even if your web page isn't done, go ahead and submit it, right? It is due on, what is it, Friday, or is it Wednesday of next week, I think at midnight, right? So you've got plenty of time, and you'll have pretty much all class period next time to work on it. But I'm not gonna go home at 10 o'clock at night and start grading. It's like, I have a life too, right? Even though I'm a nerd. So I probably won't grade it for a few days, till a few days after. So as long as you put it in there, you'll have a wiggle room of even like probably another day at least to fix problems if they're there. But if you don't submit it, then it's not even in there, right? And then we have a problem. Everyone got that? So make sure you submit it. I am here if you have any questions. There we go. And I'm going to stop recording because there's nothing left for the people that are, where's the